Welcome to Inside the Interview, a place where I turn the tables on decision makers at some of the world's most innovative companies and speak with them a little bit about their experience, but then more importantly, how they go about evaluating candidates during the interview process, and then more specifically, which 3 core competencies they must see in every candidate to decide to not necessarily make them an offer, but at least to say, you know what, I'd like to move this person to the next round of interviews. So today, I'm happy to have on Devin Golden. Devin Golden is the Vice President of Sales at PKWare. Devin, welcome to Inside the Interview.
Jay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So let's start there. Tell me a little bit about PKWare, your role there, and then your role during the interview process.
Sure. So, Jay, PKWare is actually a company whose technology is used over 1 billion times a day. Founded in 25 years ago, PKWare developed the zip file, which is used to secure, compress, and move data across enterprises. So whether you're a consumer using it to zip a file and send it to a picture to your friend, or whether you're the Bank of New York Mellon, JP Morgan Chase, and you need to move credit card information to your vendors, we help do so.
And tell me about the role that you play during the interview process, if folks were interested.
Sure. So we are a relatively small sales organization. We have 2 parts of our organization. One is a named account sales team, and one is a channel sales team. My role is to work directly with the candidates for both positions to really get a better understanding of their core competencies and to understand how their wants, needs, and desires align with the position that we have. One of the things that I'm very big on is I want to hire people who are passionate about the job. Not that they want a job with our company or they want to make money in sales, but they're passionate about what they do. They get up each morning and they want to be successful and they love the job that they have.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, you've done, well, let me ask you, how many interviews, ballpark for me, would you say you've done over the course of your career?
Over the course of my career, probably 1,000.
Wow. Okay. So, and you must see.
Have I gone on, or have I conducted? I haven't gone on that many, but I've certainly had that many.
Definitely conducted. Yeah, definitely conducted. Obviously, there are people that are going to be listening, and I'm sure as you see it on a daily basis, people wanting to reach out to you, either sending their resumes, sending cover letters and emails and whatnot. How does someone in the sea of all of the competition of other salespeople that are looking to get into PKWare or just generally speaking, whether it's PKWare or other companies, how can they break through the clutter and get Devin Golden's attention or other sales leaders' attention?
So I think it's about doing their homework. I think it's really understand what the position is, what the position entails, and really be able to articulate why they're a good match for that. That doesn't mean that they're going to have all the requisite experience in terms of the technology or otherwise, but really understand what's required in the position and why is it that you think, based on your specific skill sets, that you can be highly successful in that position.
And let's say, for instance, someone were to break through that clutter, they get in front of you, they're sitting down with you. What are the 3 common mistakes that you see people make most of the time that sort of, on paper that they are the right candidate, let's just say, but then when they come in, there's something that just isn't right? If there are 3 commonalities that you see, what would those 3 things be?
Sure. So I think number 1 is knowing the company and what exactly we do. That's number 1. Number 2, really understanding the position and what the position entails. And then 3, being able to take your experience and be able to, again, articulate why you are a good fit for that position. I'd be surprised people come in and they don't know the basics in terms of who the CEO is, what the technology is, what the company has done, etc. Those basics, even though it seems very, very simplistic, are things that people should know coming in the door.
And coming in the door.
I do have one pet peeve too, Jay, and this is kind of a funny one, is it drives me crazy when people come too early to an interview. When people are coming 20 minutes early for an interview, it's a disruption to me, and I start thinking about that interview in advance. Come 5 minutes early, be prompt, don't be late, but coming more than 15 minutes is a pet peeve.
And I guess if you are, let's say, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes early, you might not want to make yourself known until 5 minutes, right? In other words, you can be in the building, you can be in the lobby maybe, but don't let Devin Golden know that you're there yet.
Right. Find a Starbucks.
Right.
Find, whatever.
Absolutely. So in that vein, because I guess that would lead me to the next question, which is that can somebody have the right experience, but still be the wrong person for the job?
Sure. I mean, there are hard skills and there are soft skills. I mean, obviously, on paper, folks with the resume may have the requisite industry experience. They might have sold the right things, but there are very specific things that I personally look for that transcend that. Because just because you sold the same industry, because of the company, the product, because of the name recognition, there might be skills that are required that someone needs to be able to have to be successful. For example, business acumen. Um, the ability to connect the dots or clock speed, somebody's situational awareness, and ability to communicate and articulate clearly and easily are things that are very, very important to me. They may not show up on a resume. There are certainly kernels of, um, of that in terms of their success. Mm-hmm. But just because someone is successful in one role doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be successful in another role if the skills required are different.
So define for me then business acumen, and is there a way that you can assess someone's ability to, I think you said, process information at, quickly, I guess, if you will, to paraphrase?
So business acumen is your comfort level, being able to talk to people in the language of their role. So how you talk to the receptionist is going to be different than how you talk to me, which would be different than how you talk to my CEO. I'm always looking for someone that can really span that range and be able to talk to all those people very comfortably and understand what's important to them. That translates into the sales cycle. When you're talking to a C-level executive, what they're interested in is profit and losses. When you talk to someone at a director level, they're more project oriented and focused on being able to solve problems and specifically check the box on things that are important to them. So understanding what's important to those people, being able to speak their language is really business acumen.
How soon can you tell during the interview? You sit down with somebody, and you ask them that first question. Tell me what you know about our business and how much you know about this role. At what point can you tell that this person is not going to be a good fit, whether it's cultural or otherwise?
I think it's a great question, Jay. I think it really depends on the individual. If I was an interviewer and I was the greatest interview ever, I could probably say in a minute. But I always like to give people an opportunity to really understand them and what makes them tick. There can be mitigating circumstances where they didn't have an opportunity to do all the homework they would have liked, etc. So I generally think it takes 10 to 15 minutes just to get a feel for the person, get an understanding of how their brain works, their communication skills, how well they can relate and they can tell a story. Great salespeople are storytellers, so their ability to articulate and be able to convey thoughts in a way that are easy to understand and easy to really get a feel for who they are and what they're all about is incredibly important. It usually takes 10 to 15 minutes to get to that point in the interview.
What if you're at the point now, 15, 20 minutes, who knows, 30 minutes into the interview, and maybe even earlier, who knows, but the person discloses that they were let go or they're just unemployed, and the reason is because of underperformance. How can somebody effectively handle that? And if you have any, I guess, examples of somebody that's done it well, that'd be great to hear.
Well, I think every situation is different. There have been outstanding sales reps that have worked for me or I've hired that didn't always hit 100% of their goal because there are things that are outside of their control. My advice to candidates is if you have a stretch, whether it be one job, two jobs, what have you, where you didn't make goal, be honest about it. Try to explain what were the mitigating factors, what you did to try to overcome those factors, and don't hide behind it because invariably reference checks or back channel references, that stuff comes out. Not everyone, it's very rare that someone meets it or exceeds their goal at every single job. And candidly, I get a little skeptical when everyone's been at 100% every single job, every single year. Stuff happens. Business changes, change in market conditions, and generally it's one of the reasons why people actually do leave jobs.
When you say skeptical, and we were just interviewing somebody recently actually that, this person hadn't missed a quota, I think, in like the last 17 years, which, so says he. What do you, tell me more about that when you say you're skeptical. What do you think is really going on there?
Well, I mean, it is possible, and my question for this person would be to really seek to understand what made this person so unique that they beat the odds and made their goal every year. And then if they did make their goal every year for 17 years, how many positions have they had and why would they leave? Ultimately, if you do your due diligence on a company, you work hard, and you make your goal, generally there shouldn't be much of a reason to leave, right? So I want to understand what was the keys to this person's success. I want to validate that I believe that success is sincere, and then learn from it because every environment's different. What was it that the management team for 17 years put this person in a situation to be successful? If the person is that fantastic, and there are people out there that are that good, I certainly want to hire them. And I think that those skills will translate well into the position I'm hiring for.
Right. Okay. You know what? And it might have been 17 quarters. I'm not sure. But anyways, for whatever it was, it seemed like a nice long stretch nonetheless. So I always promise this at the top of every interview, which is to really find out which 3 core competencies, folks like you look for during the interview process. And again, whether it's to make them an offer, or at least to say, you know what, I like this person enough that I want to introduce them to the CEO and move them to another level. What have you found to be the 3 things, at least 3 things that you look for to say, I want to move this person forward?
Sure. So obviously, communication skills, written and verbal, the ability to communicate in this day and age is incredibly important. I mentioned business acumen at the beginning of the interview. I think that's incredibly important. And then I think it's someone who shows an innate desire to succeed, a competitive background, or someone that's had a track record of success and has overcome adversity. Those are some of the things I look for. One of the things that's incredibly important for me, though, is, and this would be to all the hiring managers, is really understand what the profile you are looking for is. I've worked for companies that currently I'm hiring enterprise sales reps, so it's a very mature, very seasoned sales rep, but I've also hired entry-level folks for other companies that I've worked for. The important thing from a hiring perspective, and for your candidates, you should know this, is really make sure you understand the profile they're hiring for. You may be overqualified or you may be underqualified, but if you understand what they're looking for, it'll help you determine whether or not it's the right fit for you as a candidate.
Yep, that makes all the sense in the world. And one of the things that you said is that it was, what was it? Oh, you were talking about their ability to, not business acumen, but the second thing after business acumen was, like to overcome adversity and to show resilience and that type of thing. Is there any way that...
Can we stop there and then we'll just start from there?
Sure, okay, yep, cool. So you mentioned business acumen, but also one's ability to overcome adversity and to show resilience. Is there any question, and this might be for hiring managers as well, or a way that you can pull the candidates into that direction so that they can show you exactly how they've been able to overcome adversity in the past? Like, what examples can you give?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jay. I think the reality is it depends on where they are in their career. If you have people that are early career, obviously you try to look at other points of their life, things that may not translate in a business setting. So did they do some sort of competitive activity, sports or band or what have you, and what type of adversity did they face in terms of reaching their goals, and what were their goals, and just getting a better understanding of that. People that have experience, generally I look for when they change jobs, what were they faced with, what was the reason for that they were looking for a job, because people, if they're not facing adversity, generally won't change jobs. So try to better understand the environment in which is causing them to look for a change, trying to look at other job changes to better understand what was driving that.
Okay, good. So we've gone through all that. They were 5 minutes on time, so to speak. You sat down with them. They understood the company. They answered all of your questions. How should someone close the interview? What are your expectations at the end of the interview from the candidate? How should they wrap it up?
Well, I think it's important for them to ask questions on whether or not, based on what they heard, whether that they believe that I'm a fit for the position, and also express their interest in the position. Now, most hiring managers like myself are going to give them vague answers, and generally what I'll say is, Jay, you've represented yourself well. I appreciate your time. What I'm going to do is, and I'll generally outline the process, and then I also talk about how I'm going to look at them within the pool of other candidates, because there may be outstanding candidates that you decide not to hire. You want them to walk away with a good experience and recognizing that there are going to be candidates that they're going to be competing with, and that at the end of the day, it may not be something with them, might be someone just was a better fit, and that doesn't make them a bad person, because I look at everyone that I talk to, whether it's for this company or a company I might work for down the road, I'm always kind of sizing up, is this someone that I think could be successful in a different role? And if I were to have that different role, I want to make sure that I had that positive experience with them.
If you have an outstanding A player in front of you, let's just say, and you know it, and in your mind you really want to hire this person now, do you give them a different response, or is it still the same response?
I try to be a little bit more specific in terms of the next steps. Jay, we really liked you as a candidate. Obviously, we're going to look at you in the context of the pool of candidates. What I would see as the next step is A, B, and C. And the reason why, Jay, you want to express interest and lay out the next step in my mind is, if you go gaga over them, then you lose your leverage when it comes to negotiating compensation.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Good to know. I like that. That's a good tidbit right there. Thank you. All right. So you've finished the interview, and the person's closed it out. Is there anything else that you want to add that maybe perhaps I'm forgetting, or perhaps maybe you've thought about either meeting with my candidates or other candidates that you say, man, I just wish they knew how to do this better. I wish they would stop doing that?
Yeah, as far as follow-up, I don't like to be hounded. Send in a thank you letter. Use spell check. Have someone else look at it once. I recently got a thank you letter that I believe the word was through, STHROUGH, and the person must have done spell check but missed it. It was THREW. So just take the time, make sure you have someone else read it, send a letter, and then really listen to what I said in terms of next steps, because I will follow through. I do think for hiring managers out there, the one thing I've seen is just communicate. If you're not moving forward with someone, let them know. If you're considering them, let them know, because I think that the thing that I've learned being a candidate is not knowing is more painful than knowing. I'd rather get a no than a maybe. So I try to communicate. I make sure that on a weekly basis, that whether it's recruiters or whether it's individuals, that we're getting back to them in a timely fashion so that they know, because I want them to be able to move on and find other positions. And I tell candidates, here's my expectations. If you go back and this is a position you're not interested in, please let me know. And on the converse, if we decide to go in a different direction, we'll let you know, so that you know to close the door on that. And I aspire to be good at that. I try to do it within a week. Sometimes it's 2, but I do try to get back to people, because generally when people are in job search mode, they're looking. And it's in just being courteous and professional, I think it's important. I think I've seen a movement in this day and age that a lot of hiring managers don't bother, and I think that that's just a bad decision.
It really is. I was talking to a vice president of talent recently within another company, and one of the things she said when we first started talking about the position that they were looking to fill is that we want to make sure we give candidates the red carpet treatment, and that means to move them through the interview process expediently, and then also if we don't hire them, that they're going to know why we didn't hire them in a timely manner, and it's going to be more specific than no thanks, we'll pass. You just weren't the right fit, so to speak, and sort of that type of thing. So as a recruiter, we really appreciate that as well, of course, because it just sort of helps us do our jobs better. And of course, she mentioned, actually, the VP of Talent mentioned Glassdoor as another sort of avenue for candidates to really talk poorly about companies. So obviously, the better that you do that during the interview process, the less likely you'll find yourself on the negative side of that. So the final question, and thank you for your time here. This has been great, and you've been patient enough and thoughtful enough to answer these questions. So I'm going to give you the chance, if you want, to just talk to me about, if you are hiring, which positions you are looking to fill, and then also how can folks go about applying to PKWare?
Sure, Jay, I will answer that in a second. I did want to add 2 things just to help folks, and I hope you don't mind. First and foremost, from a hiring manager's perspective, one of the things that I do that's been very effective is I try to get people to tell me what they're looking for in a position. I've been able to rule out about 50% of candidates, even though they're going in, whether it be with a recruiter or from our website, just by saying, what are you looking for, what's important to you, and what are you trying to avoid? That's number one. And then the second thing for hiring managers, just remember, even though the company you work for may be a great company and you're very proud of it, it's still important to sell your company to prospective candidates. I think oftentimes people forget that, because it is a competitive marketplace, and even though you're very proud of your organization that you work for, you want to be able to differentiate it. Coming back to Jay's question around, or Jay, your question around hiring. We've gone through a rebuild of the sales organization at PKWare, so we're actually looking for two types of positions. We're looking for enterprise account executive. This is someone that can sell to Fortune 50 companies, has experience in technology, ideally across all different systems, whether it be open systems, mainframe, cloud, desktop, what have you. The other is we're looking for someone with a similar experience, but also has experience working with the channel. So this is someone that can work with some of our main channel partners, help to execute on programs and help them close business. And that's about it, Jay. Is there anything else?
How can they apply?
Well, of course they should reach out to Jay David and give him the resume. But if for some reason, Jay's out on one of his long vacations, you're more than welcome to go to our site, PKWare. That's PKWare.com, and you can apply there as well.
Fabulous. Devin Golden, VP of Sales at PKWare. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you for watching my interview with Devin Golden, Vice President of Sales of PKWare. Don't forget to sign up for more interview tips and advice by signing up on this page. Thank you.